Good morning and welcome to the show. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. How do you find your purpose? That's actually a question that I have been asking myself, believe it or not. After 30 years in radio, I'm like, this is fun and I'm really, really good at it, but I don't know if it's my purpose. So, this time when we've all had a lot of downtime to reflect to ourselves, you all may be asking yourself the same question. How do I find my purpose? What is my purpose? Is it possible that I might not have a purpose? So, how do you find purpose in difficult times? Onyinye, is it Anike?
Yes, correct.
I said it right. Onyinye Anike is a certified transformational life and business coach and author of the upcoming book, Purposely Authentic, a comprehensive guide to unleash your power, increase your mindfulness, and discover your authentic self. Good morning, Onyinye. How are you?
Good morning, Selena. How are you?
I am absolutely wonderful. So, come on, tell me, how do I find my purpose?
It depends on what it is you're looking for. I don't say it's really finding it because it's always been in you the whole time. I believe we are all born with a purpose because we're also very unique and we have so many amazing gifts and talents that we are born into this world with. What happens is obviously society and our caretakers, and we start to align ourselves with the expectations of what we should be and shouldn't become. And so we kind of get a little bit lost. But I see our purpose as our guiding light, which connects us to our higher selves, our higher beings. And so in order to uncover it, we just have to go on, I call it a purpose journey, to find the puzzle pieces of our lives so that we can fully uncover what we are on this earth to do and how we can best live our lives in alignment with that.
Okay. So, how does one go about finding there? Well, you said the purpose is inside of you. So, how do I awaken what my purpose is? Because many people would say, "Oh, you're already living your purpose. You're doing so many things. You got a girls' camp in the summer, and you work hard for the community, and you're on the radio, and you help so many people. You're living your purpose." But I don't feel like I am.
And so when that comes, it's about taking some time to self-reflect. That's the first part of the purpose quest, is taking the time to reflect on this journey that you've been on called your life, your gifts, your talents. What did all of this call you to do? Ultimately, what were you here to create? What is the legacy you want to leave? And what was all of this calling you towards? How are you utilizing your gifts in your own unique way to make a difference? Because purpose is all about us, how we're using our gifts in alignment with who we are to create a change and to make a difference in the world.
So everybody's supposed to be out here making a change?
In our own unique way. We're not called to do it in the same way. Some of us, we're more artistic. Some people, their purpose could be around just the way they use their voice. It's all about how can we change the world with our own gifts? How can we leave the world a better place than when we first came into it? And our purpose is about aligning with that and living our values in alignment with that.
Why do you think it is that people are resistant to making changes in their life?
So good question. So people are resistant because we get really comfortable in our comfort zone. We get used to just doing what we've been told to do and how we should do it. And so as natural human nature is to be resistant to change because our brain wants to protect us. There's uncertainty in change. We don't know what lies on the other end. And so we like to stay where we're comfortable and where, as long as we are meeting the basic needs, we can move forward with. And so in order to move past that threshold, we really have to self-reflect and recognize what is the benefit of me staying in the same space, and what am I losing by moving forward, and what am I gaining by actually making the change that I need to make in order to move forward in my life and to feel fulfilled and to know that I'm living on purpose and that I am fully showing up as who I was created to show up as.
And why is it that emotions, like managing your emotions, are important?
It gives us the ability to own our power. So the way we do some of the mindset work around getting in alignment with your purpose is recognizing that our emotions are a direct result of our thoughts. So if we are in and having disempowering thoughts about ourselves and the world around us, it's going to trigger a certain emotion, whether that's happiness or sadness or anger. And when you're able to recognize what those thoughts are and how that is impacting your emotions, you have the power to make a decision to change the way you feel, or to acknowledge that feeling, but not let it become so overwhelming that you don't have any ability to control it. We have the ability to control how we respond to situations. Instead of being reactive, we can be proactive in the way we show up. And so by managing your emotions, you're taking back control. You're not being affected by what people are saying and showing up in a way that may not be in alignment with who you are, because you're being reactive to that.
What do you think some of the biggest mistakes are that people are making right now?
I think some of the biggest mistakes people are making right now when it comes to like purpose and emotion is they are not aware of and reflecting on the ability that they have to own their power, to own their mind, to own their results in life. So we determine the results that we get in our lives. We can't control the external environment, but we can control our internal thoughts and our internal emotions and the actions that we take. And I think the biggest mistake people make is they give that power away, they give that ability away to others. They're influenced by what people are telling them, or the media, or family, and they're not fully aware of what their abilities are to truly own their lives and their situations, and become empowered people instead of victims to whatever societal external environments are happening for them.
But how isn't it difficult to keep social media from influencing how you're thinking and moving and affecting your emotions on a daily basis?
Yes, it can be, but that's only if you're not aware of it. And so one of the first steps is to become aware. Awareness is always key, because we have thoughts that are going on in our heads. They're habitual thoughts and patterns that we've picked up from life, from our young days, childhood, that we repeat over and over in our heads. And when we're in social media, sometimes they either influence us, they validate some of our belief systems, whether they're right or wrong, and we move forward with that. I think being mindful of the fact that you want to take everything that you see on social media with a grain of salt. You want to ask questions when things are coming up that may not look right, sound right, or not be in alignment with what your belief is. I think it's important to recognize how is social media impacting you. I know a lot of it we talk about younger generation in terms of body image. I know the big thing is we're being, shown some of these images of what a perfect body is or something like that. And so they take that as this is what it is and move forward with it, and it impacts their own self-worth and self-esteem. And so you have to step back and say, what is, what does positive body image look like? What are the thoughts I'm telling myself? Am I telling myself I'm not beautiful because I don't look X, Y, and Z? Catching those thoughts when they start to come up and reframing them. And that's a process of really being aware of what are you saying to yourself, writing it down, because when you see it on paper, it becomes more real, and then making a decision to change it, because it's not serving you. If anything, it's limiting you, or it's putting you in a negative space because you are it's not in alignment with what you believe you should be feeling or seeing or looking at. So it's really about taking the time to reframe our thoughts, to be curious about what's coming up for us and what we're hearing and seeing in our environment.
How could parents help their kids through this kind of a transformation? Because it's very, very difficult when your parents don't even have this kind of mind frame, to have your kids develop this kind of mind frame.
I think parents can start asking questions. It's never too late to learn. And I think that's the most important part is, as parents, if this is an area that you want to help your children in and developing this mindset and this ability to reframe and to become empowered, I think it's important for you to start to ask the questions as well, and to address your own limiting beliefs, because we take a lot of our own limiting beliefs, our own views of the world, usually from our caretakers, because they're usually the first people that influence us in our lives. And so I think the first step for parents is to step back and to address their own limiting beliefs, their own thought processes, and to start that reframe process as well. And in doing that, they can then be an example and role model that for their children as well, and then start that process of helping them through that transformational process.
Onyinye, is there a website where people can go, or social media where people can go to find out more information about finding their purpose?
Yes, there is. You can see me at my name, Onyinye, Anike.com, and there is a free guide that I provided around transformation and finding your purpose that they can download and get that 5-step guide.
And why don't you go ahead and spell that for them, because that is not
Yes.
an easy name to spell.
No, it's not. It is ONYINNYECANIKE.com.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Continued success, and please come back and see us again.
All right, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Oh my gosh, so we're all starting to think about getting back on planes and going to visit people and make those moves and do our business again or visit our family again. But people are wondering across the United States, how safe is it in the airport? Going through TSA checking that we all have to do. With us this morning, Chris McLaughlin of Denver International Airport. We're here to talk about TSA and creating. In fact, this is a person who actually helped create TSA PreCheck, which I'm a proud member of. Thank you so much. So good morning, Chris. It's good to have you here.
Good morning. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, Chris, I know a lot of us are worried about flying. Many friends of mine are saying, nah, I'm not really ready to get back on a plane yet. It just seems like it's too much contact, too much going on. So what kinds of ideas are being thought about to make flying safer and making the customer feel like they are more protected?
Well, I really appreciate that question, and it really is an important one right now. At airports across the country, we're really focused on ensuring that both the airports themselves are safe and that customers feel safe about that journey. And so we at Denver, we're focused on creating solutions that work for today and for the future to help sort of enable that confidence. You hit the nail on the head. People want a contactless experience. People want to ensure that they have distance from their fellow passengers. And really what I'm finding most often is that they want to be in control of their journey. That's really the important thing to customers, is the ability to know that they can control their experience from beginning to end. So, for example, in Den, we're working with a company called Dayon based on their Glide platform, and we're introducing a series of pilots starting later this summer, probably the first of which will be a reservation-based system where the customer really can control their journey from the time that they're preparing to fly. So they can book a reservation for a specific window coming through the airport. That'll give them a guaranteed spot through TSA security, as you mentioned, but also in Den, we rely heavily on a train system to get from concourse to concourse. And with this reservation system, the customers will actually be able to reserve a spot on that train to ensure that they can both be free from contact as well as maintain a safe distance from their fellow travelers. So we're really excited about that initiative.
So tell me how that will start to play out, because I can't imagine a totally contactless, although when you go through TSA, you don't really touch anybody. So talk to me about how that will work once you get to the security checkpoint. And I know you don't have all the bells and whistles totally worked out yet, but what is it imagined how that will work when you get there and they look at your ID and look at you to make sure it's you, and then you go through?
Yeah, so I want to say a couple things. First of all, this is not just a security process. This is what we think of as sort of a holistic solution throughout the journey of the customer. A lot of people talk about the curb to the gate experience. We're actually talking about the home to the gate experience here. But you are right in terms of TSA. Look, when I was at TSA, I can tell you that officers don't actually enjoy the touching part of the job. That's not what they like to do, and they're looking for ways to be innovative and to avoid contact wherever they can, and COVID has really heightened that. So we believe, just as we did when we created the TSA PreCheck program, that we could put innovations in place that would facilitate the passenger's journey. Now in this COVID world, we think that need is even heightened, and we're looking at ways to do that. So this platform that I'm referring to, the Glide platform, is a combination of biometrics and your mobile device. And think about the biometric as something, again, today most Americans use your face to open your phone. So what we can do with a similar approach is identify who you are. We can know the individual that made the reservation. We can assure that they've verified their health status. And then with that intact, they can arrive at the airport. We can confirm their identity, and then they can use that identity as their key to the airport, their key to get through, again, an e-gate to a TSA lane, an identity that's used as a key to get into a waiting corral, to get on a train again, where you're ensured a safe distance from your fellow passengers. So throughout the journey, by using, again, your face, which is a passive key, we can ensure that the customer can control their experience and limit the touching. You said it. I don't know that we can get away from all touching yet, but we certainly can strive for it, and we can continue to move in that direction until we've perfected it.
Now, what are wellness credentials, and how can you be sure that those wellness credentials are actually verified moments before I actually get on a plane?
Well, it's a great question, and I want to remind again that we are, in the context of aviation, I'll say this, we're building the airplane while we're in flight, right? So we are being responsive to this emerging COVID threat, and that means that we're building things right now, and we'll take a crawl, walk, run approach. In the early phase, we'll rely heavily on passengers to self-certify, much the way that employees are in many instances across the country today, much the way that many airlines are requiring passengers to self-certify. And as we evolve, we envision partnerships and are working toward partnerships with health institutions that on an opt-in basis, passengers will truly be able to certify their health status. Now, you mentioned as they're approaching the airplane. We know that, again, throughout the journey, things can change with that passenger's status, and we know that there will be chances that someone's status could change, frankly, while in flight. As we've always said in security, there's nothing that's perfect. There's no foolproof solution, but what we can do is minimize the risk that passengers take by obtaining as much information as possible and using that to help facilitate the journey for those passengers.
And when we're talking touchless retail, are we thinking along the lines of like Apple Pay, which many people are doing now, even when they pull up to, let's say, the like Jack in the Box window? You don't have to actually hand money over anymore. You don't even have to, put your credit card in anything. You can just say, "Oh, I'll do Apple Pay," and you just then wave your phone over something that doesn't actually touch it, and boom, it pays. So you're not putting your things actually into any kind of machine, and you're not handling money to someone.
Absolutely, and as you say, so that technology exists today, and we're trying to create things that are built on potentially existing technology, but are new and innovative. So we envision a world where you could book this reservation through your airport experience. Maybe along the way you decide that you want a cup of coffee or you want a sandwich on the other side of security. So you make that purchase from the comfort of your own home. You go through, you arrive at the airport, you go through the TSA experience. Once you go through there and you're identified, we know that it's about 4 to 5 minutes before you get to your concourse. You arrive on your concourse and your coffee is ready for you, piping hot, already paid for and ready to be picked up. That's the world that we envision. Again, we're not there today, but we're moving in that direction.
What do you imagine, because I know this is what's on a lot of people's minds here, when a passenger appears to not be feeling well, how will that be handled in your mind in the future? Like if you see somebody standing in line in front of you and they're, coughing away and appear to just be ill. Because, I've gotten on a plane before when somebody clearly does not look like they are well and they still get on a plane anyway. So how will that kind of thing be handled in the future?
Right, so it's really important to understand that airports are true ecosystems. They're actually small cities. In some cases, they're sort of medium-sized cities, and we have a tremendous number of resources available, paramedics on staff, first responders. We have a number of employees that are trained to identify, situations where help is needed. In Den, we use an app called a CSA app, which allows all employees that work in the airport, when they see something that's of a concern, to literally hit a button, identify the concern. We have a COVID-specific concern that sends information directly to our dispatch center and allows us to send assistance to that individual in need.
The last question here before you get out of here, which I know is of high importance to everyone who gets on a plane, and you may or may not know the answer. How does the air circulate in a plane, and am I really safe? Do all those germs just stay in the plane, or how does the ventilation work on a plane so that I can feel safe breathing the air on the plane?
So I certainly can't speak as an expert in this area, but I can tell you from being in the environment that airplanes, I believe, are safer today than they ever have been. Airplanes today carry next-generation filtration systems And I believe truly, based on, again, information that I see through other colleagues, that this airplane is safer than it's ever been. Again, I'm not an expert in the area.
So I'm not just all breathing circulated air, like it actually is getting through some ventilation system.
Absolutely. I can, although not an expert, I can confirm that 100%.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, for doing this innovation work for us. I know people are really anxious to get out there and start flying again. So it's important that they feel safe and that they know that there are more innovations on the way. So Chris McLaughlin, thank you so much for being with us this morning. And when you got more information to share, please come back and see us.
We sure will. Thank you for your time this morning.
Stick around. There's more coming up. Actor Ernie Hudson joins us next with a very important message right here.